Dragon Wild, who played Pokemon with a simulator, was brought to the world of Pokemon by a strange system. Do you want various props? Master Ball, Super Fishing Rod, Volcano Stone, Crescent Feather, as long as they are in the save, they can be exchanged. Do you want a Divine Beast? Dream, Three-Pillar King, and Underworld Dragon, as long as they are in the archive, they can be exchanged. The Genesis God is on sale, not 998, only 10 million. You can choose from 17 Genesis gods. Keywords of the novel. Save Superman of Pet Elves with no pop-ups. Download the complete set of Save Superman TXT of Pet Elves, and read the latest chapter of Save Superman of Pet Elves. Chapter 1. Crossing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Crossing. In a messy dormitory at XX University, equally unkempt Long Yi is fighting in front of the computer. If you look closely, you will find that the game Pocket Monster Black 2 is running in the computer simulator. This year's junior year, Ryuno can be said to be a pet elf fan. When I first saw an animation of a pet elf as a child, I was attracted to it. At that time, Ryuno also knew about the existence of the Pocket Monster game, but when he was a child, his parents couldn't have bought him such a game console due to poor family conditions. Long Yi didn't really get to know the Pokémon game until his parents bought him a computer after he went to college. During his college years, Ryuno played the Pokemon game series from the initial Red Green to Black and White 2 games through a simulator, and he also watched the anime of the Pet Elf episode after episode. Long Yi is different from others in playing games. Every Pocket Monster game requires Long Yi to collect all the little elves and various props. At this point, the characteristics of the simulator were demonstrated. The artifact called Golden Finger unleashed infinite power. The previous games, Dragon Wild, had already completed the perfect save of all the elves and props. Now, only Black 2, which Dragon Wild is currently playing, is left. Ah, the last elf has finally been caught, and another perfect save has been completed. Ryuno stretched lazily and muttered to himself. Looking at the game filled with Pokemon Ryuno, I couldn't help but think, why does the latest Pokemon XY need to use the 3DS system? It took several years to develop the NDS system emulator, but now this more complex 3DS system will take many years to have an emulator. It seems like I can only use the money earned from part-time jobs to buy the latest version of the handheld phone. I can't wait for a few years. Just as Ryuno was about to appreciate his achievements again, his computer screen suddenly flashed at lightning speed. Ryuno only looked for a few seconds before feeling black in front of him and fainted. At this moment, a mechanical voice rang out, "The Super Simulator system has been integrated, teleporting the target Pet Elf world, 3, 2, 1, set off." When Ryuno woke up again, he found himself in a strange room, and his body turned into a child. The host's consciousness has been detected to be clear, and the Super Simulator system has officially started. Just as Long Yi was lost, a voice rang out from his head. As the scene changed, Ryuno found himself in a strange place, surrounded by pitch black. At this moment, the voice just now rang out again. "Hello host, I am a Super Simulator system. You are currently in the Pet Elf world. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me." The sudden sound startled Long Yi, but soon he calmed down. He was alone, just tired of being bombarded by various travel novels. "System, why did you choose me? Why did you come to the world of Pet Elves?" The Super Simulator system, also known as the Wish Fulfillment System, was invented in the 1860s. The original inventor invested this simulator in a time machine hoping to randomly select a person to help them complete the most realistic gaming experience. In other words, you were randomly selected. After selecting the host, this system will automatically retrieve various game simulators from the host computer and mobile phone, select the world you most want to go to from the games run by the emulator, and bring you into it. This game experience is also the most realistic. According to the simulator inside the host computer, the system detected that the world you most want to go to is the world of pet sprites, so you appeared here. The words of the system made Longye couldn't help roast. Why must we use the simulator to detect? It seems that the inventor of the system is not necessarily a good person. In the 31st century, it did not support the genuine version. Host, once this system is bound, I will know what you are thinking. The system's words made Longye uncomfortable for a while. Will brother lose his privacy in the future? If the host does not wish to use this convenient communication method, they can choose to disable this feature and choose voice communication. I'll go. Is there a convenient way to communicate? Let's disable this feature for now. Ding has switched to voice mode. At this moment, Ryuno suddenly thought of the most crucial question. System, you brought me to the world of pet elves. So, did I die in the original world? In the original world, you were still alive and well. According to the laws of the 31st century, you cannot deprive others of their lives in any form. Therefore, this system only copied all your memories before you fell into a coma and transmitted them to the current body of the pet elf world. Upon hearing this explanation, Ryuno immediately relaxed. To be honest, he did love the world of pet elves, but in the past, he had his own responsibilities and obligations. Compared to games, he valued his family and friends more. Now that he heard that he was not dead in the original world, Ryuno felt relieved. No, the system says you can't deprive others of their lives. So, if you transfer my memory to this body, will the original owner of this body die soon? Don't worry, the original owner of this body just died before transferring your memory. So that's the case. Does your super simulator system have any other functions besides sending me to this world? Ryuno earnestly asked, which is related to whether he can have the golden finger to live the protagonist's life in the future. In order to help the host live better in the new world, the archives in your emulators have been turned into system data, which will be organized and generate a series of new features. Ding I saw the perfect saves of various Pokémon that Ryuno had played before appearing in the air, and then constantly merging into a new interface. There are 3 options on the newly appeared interface, namely, Archive Mall, Battle Statistics, and System Tasks. Longye first opened the Archive Mall, which is divided into Elf, Ordinary Props, Skill Machine, Important Props, Fairy Ball. Longye looked around and found that the Ordinary Props are all the items that can be obtained a lot in the game, such as Recovery Medicine, Insect Repellent Spray, etc., while the Important Props are the only items in the game. For example, it can lead to the volcanic town stones of Sidoran or the crescent feathers of the dream god Crescilia. The items sold in this Archive Mall actually combine the small elves and props that appear in various series of Pokémon games, and in the Small Elves column, in addition to normal small elves, even the shining small elves that Ryuno caught earlier are included. Ryuno discovered his favorite red koi dragon. Longye discovered that there was a different number at the back of each item in the mall, which is the price of each item. System, what do you need to use to buy things in the mall? Is there money in this world? No, purchasing items in the mall consumes the points accumulated by the host. In the future, the host will earn corresponding points every time they engage in elf battles with people. The points obtained from failed battles are 1/10 of the victory. The specific combat situation can be checked in the Battle Statistics option. In addition to gaining points through battles, the host can also obtain achievement points through various tasks in the system tasks. The exchange ratio between achievement points and points is 1.5. The specific situation can be queried in the system tasks. In addition, the items in the mall now are all from your previous saves. In the future, any sprites, props, and other items that the host sees with their own eyes in the pet sprite world can be added to the mall for exchange. Upon hearing the last sentence from the system, Ryuno couldn't help but feel grateful to himself. Fortunately, all of his saves are perfect, otherwise there would be things that couldn't be exchanged. Don't assume that the things in the archive are not important just because the system says that anything that Dragon Wild has seen with his own eyes can be added to the mall. It should be noted that there are too many things in the real world of pet elves that many people have never seen in their lifetime. Not to mention the important props such as the legendary elves and volcanic stones of the creator god, it is difficult to see all of them just ordinary elves. Longye still doesn't know if it's easy to obtain points and achievement points, but he roughly browsed through the points required for each item. When Longye saw the 10 million points behind the creator god, he was completely Spartan. This is because they are not prepared to exchange for good deals, and what drives Longye even more crazy is that there are a total of 17 creation gods in the Archive Mall system. How did this creation god exchange? Each of these 17 creator gods has a single attribute. When the host exchanges them, they first exchange the one with a normal attribute. Then, when exchanging for other attribute creator gods, for each exchange, the first ordinary attribute creator gods will have an additional stone tablet corresponding to the attribute. Until all 16 stone tablets are exchanged, it becomes a complete creator gods. I'll go to the scam. One of them costs 10 million points, and exchanging all 17 of them costs 170 million points. I'll have to live a few lifetimes to earn so many points. No longer looking at the Archive Mall that made him sad, Longye looked at the battle statistics and system tasks options again. Because Longye had just arrived in this world, all the data in the battle statistics was 0, but the system tasks option surprised Longye a lot. System tasks are divided into random tasks, established tasks, and legendary tasks. Random tasks are tasks released by the system from time to time, while legendary tasks are tasks related to divine beasts. Neither of these two tasks is particularly special, but this established tasks makes Dragon Wild very familiar. The various tasks in the established tasks are exactly the same as the metal tasks in the Pocket Monster Black 2 that Dragon Wild played last time, such as the Light Run task, completing 5,000 steps of conditional walking, the Intermediate Runner task, completing 10,000 steps of conditional walking, and so on. These tasks are simply giving achievement points. Just as Ryuno was happy, the sound of the system suddenly rang out. We detected residual memory in the host's body and immediately began to fuse. Hey, wait a moment. Before Long Yi could finish speaking, he immediately lost consciousness in front of him. When Long Yi woke up again, there were already many things in his head. Just as he was looking around, the door to the room suddenly opened and a middle-aged man walked in. Longye, you're awake. It's really great. How could you climb up such a high artificial mountain alone and even fall off it? Do you know how worried your mother and I are about you? Watching the middle-aged man constantly nagging in front of him, Long Yi, who had fused his memories, naturally knew that he was the father of this body. But this middle-aged man's face, even if not fused with memories of Ryuno, still has some impression, this lewd appearance, this iconic headscarf. I'll go, isn't this the same Carp King uncle who was sold to Kojiro on the Saint Anu ship? End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Hidden Boss, Uncle Carp King. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Hidden Boss, Uncle Carp King. Looking at Uncle Carp King in front of him, Dragon Ambition suddenly saw countless alpacas running by. As an impressive supporting role with no official name in the animated version of Pet Elf, Longye knows the story of Uncle Carp King very well. On the Saint Anu, this uncle went around selling the Carp King that was said to produce gold, but the foolish little Jiro spent 30,000 yuan to buy one. Later, the San Anu sank, and the rocket team's trio thought they could escape with the help of this Carp King. However, the Carp King, who only knew how to splash water, almost killed Kojiro and his team. In a fit of anger, Kojiro abandoned the Carp King, and the Carp King instantly evolved into a Tyrannosaurus Rex. With Dragon Wrath, the rocket team and Koji were blown away together. This is just the first time. Afterwards, this uncle disguised himself as a clumsy fish and sold it to Musashi. He also disguised the shuttlecock grass as a rare wind bell and sold it to Kojiro. The most impressive thing is that this uncle was able to exchange Kojiro's big food flower for his mouth-twitching flower. You should know that big food flower is an evolution of mouth-twitching flower. Is such a character actually his own father? Do I also want to sell Carp King with him in the future? Suddenly, Long Yi thought of something. Since this sleazy uncle is his own father, shouldn't he also have grown into this sleazy appearance? Ryuno immediately stood up and looked in the mirror. Fortunately, the young man in the mirror could at least be considered handsome. You're still so stinky and beautiful, you just got up and went to look in the mirror, Uncle Carp King said with a smile. Has Long Yi woken up? Let Mom take a look. Mom has been worried so much these days. Why are you so mischievous? Seeing his mother running in, Ryuno finally knew why he had grown up like this. It turned out that his appearance was quite similar to his mother's. Long Yi couldn't help but think to himself, this Carp King uncle is very impressive. He could have married such a beautiful wife. If it weren't for his appearance, I would definitely be a member of the idol faction now, buddy. Mom and Dad don't have to worry, I'm fine, Longye said. After seeing that Longye was fine, these two instructed him a few more words before leaving, letting him rest well. Lonely Longye finally has time to examine the memories of fusion. Originally, the full name of this body was Fujiwara Ryuno, who is 7 years old this year. His father, also known as Uncle Carp King, is named Fujiwara Masayoshi, and his mother's name is Sakurai Saya. According to the grade calculation of Uncle Carp King, Ryuno knows that Xiaoji has not started traveling yet, and as for the years before the start of the animation plot, Ryuno cannot accurately know. After resting in bed for 2 days, Ryuno's injuries had all healed. During this time, he realized that his cheap father was definitely not as simple as he seemed. First of all, it was the place where they lived. After being able to walk around, Longye realized that it was actually a huge villa, and there was also a super large courtyard around the villa. In the animation, Ryuno thought that Dr. Oki's yard for raising various little elves was already big enough, and now he realizes that his own yard is even bigger than that. Such villas and courtyards are not something that the Carp King can buy. There are also many little elves living in this courtyard, but what Longye sees are common elves such as baby birds and green caterpillars, and of course, more are the Carp Kings in the river. The first time I came into contact with the real little elf Longye, I was extremely excited. He crouched by the river and stared at the Carp King in the river for a long time without moving. I didn't even notice the system prompt that he had completed a random task. When Ryuno checked the system at night, he realized that he had not only completed a random task for his first encounter, but also completed the predetermined task of a light runner. Random tasks reward 5 achievement points, while established tasks receive a reward of 10 achievement points. However, the 15 achievement points in the mall are just a few tree fruits that can be exchanged. The road ahead for Longye is heavy and long. After living in this home for a week, Ryuno has accepted his current identity and finally learned about his father's identity through intentional or unintentional inquiries. It turns out that this Carp King uncle is the largest hidden boss in the pet elf world. Fujiwara Masayoshi is the current head of the Fujiwara family, and this giant villa is just the tip of the iceberg in the Fujiwara family's industry. Because Fujiwara Masayoshi likes quietness, he took his family on vacation here. The Fujiwara family is a long-standing family, with a longer history than the Yulong clan in Yanhua City and the Guardian Ringtone clan in Yuanzhou City. It is a top-tier family that even the Elf Alliance dare not easily provoke. However, there was no conflict of interest between the Fujiwara family and the Alliance, so the two have remained peaceful. The main industry of the Fujiwara family is to cultivate rare or special elves for sale. The courtyard seen by Ryuno is only the peripheral area of the family courtyard, so there are no precious elves. If you enter the core area of the family, there are many rare elves there. The Pokémon cultivated by the Fujiwara family are not limited to powerful ones, there are rare and potential Pokémon like Huck Dragon and Roundland Shark, as well as ordinary Pokémon like horned goldfish. However, although it is a horned goldfish, the horned goldfish cultivated by the Fujiwara family are completely different from those in the wild. The family has dedicated personnel to cultivate horned goldfish with different body colors, such as horned goldfish with a red body and only white horns around the edges, or black and white colored horned goldfish. These little elves may not have strong combat abilities, but they have strong ornamental value, so some wealthy people will spend tens or millions to purchase a special horned goldfish. The shining Pokémon in nature are also a key focus of the Fujiwara family's cultivation, as many of these shining Pokémon have unique characteristics. The Fujiwara family hopes to cultivate these shining Pokémon and optimize their strengths to obtain better Pokémon. Of course, due to their limited quantity, most of these little elves were handed over to the legitimate members of the family for use. In addition to the elf industry, the Fujiwara family also focuses on collecting and organizing information on various props and elf skills. Due to this relationship, the Fujiwara family has a very close connection with renowned researchers from various regions, and even many projects are supported by the family for research. So whether it's Dr. Daimu from the Guangdu region, Dr. Konmu from the Chengdu region, or even Dr. Nanbua from the rocket team, they all have very close connections with the Fujiwara family. And when it comes to this, Ryuno finally knows why Dad always sells the Carp King, because for the Fujiwara family, the Carp King is not only a legacy, but also a way to teach the family not to underestimate even the most ordinary Carp King. At the same time, it was also a proof of the family's external transactions. Long Yi saw a trainer spend 300,000 yuan to buy a Carp King, and then his father taught him the tile-splitting skill to deal with monsters. This skill is not something that anyone can afford to teach, only potential trainers are eligible to purchase the Carp King from the Fujiwara family. Actually, just thinking about it, even if my dad sold a Carp King to the rocket team's Kojiro for 30,000 yuan on the San Anu, it wouldn't be deceiving him because that Carp King evolved into a Tyrannosaurus Rex on the same day. It's very difficult for the Carp King to evolve into a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and you can't buy a Tyrannosaurus Rex for 30,000 yuan no matter what. But according to this logic, is Kojiro a promising trainer? Ryuno decided to temporarily put aside this question before asking again. After understanding the powerful background of the family, Ryuno almost couldn't help but burst into laughter. It seems that the system is really good to me. It turned out that he found such a golden thigh to hold me. You know, my father is now the head of the Fujiwara family. So, as his son, I don't have any elves that I want. No longer do you need to envy Xiaoji for being able to gather the initial elves of the local 3 families every time he goes, nor do you need to envy those who run around with fast dragons, fierce biting land sharks, and nightmare gods. In the future, I will be a rich man with everything I want. Dad, can you give me a mini dragon now? I want to start training him now. Just as Ryuno was speaking with joy, reality gave him a merciless blow. If you can catch it in the wild by yourself, then there's no problem, said Cheap Dad nonchalantly. Aha! Don't you say there are many mini dragons in your family. Just give me one directly. This is not allowed. According to the ancestral motto of the Fujiwara family, in order to maintain the combat effectiveness of family members and continue the family's industry, material support cannot be obtained from the family until the family members complete the trial mission. Even your father and I must abide by this rule, so don't think about selecting elves directly from the family. What kind of deceitful regulations are these? Longye thought angrily. After Dad's explanation, Ryuno finally knew what the so-called trial task was. It turned out that each member of the Fujiwara family had to complete the trial task assigned by the family in order to gain support from the family. The tasks of ordinary family members were simpler, while those of legitimate members were much more difficult. The trial tasks assigned by the family are basically related to the family's business, such as creating a special item, cultivating a few rare elves, creating new elf skills, investigating specific information about an elf that the family does not have, and so on. If you do not want to complete the trial tasks, you can also become a trainer. As long as you can become the top 4 in the elf competition, then you have also completed the trial tasks. These tasks have no time limit, and you can start completing your trial tasks from the moment your family members are sensible. If you are talented enough to complete them at the age of 6 or 7, then no one will say anything, it just means that your future starting point is higher. Dad, what was your trial mission back then? Long Yi asked curiously. As for me, because I want to become the clan leader and manage the entire family, the trial task given to me by the family is to cultivate a shining koi dragon and sell 500 koi kings for no less than 5,000 yuan. Fujiwara Masayoshi said with some pride. I'll go, it's so deceitful. Long Yi shouted out directly. You know, not everyone has the luck of a little wit, and they often encounter shining elves, let alone the types of elves that are specified. It's already very difficult to encounter the Flash Supranosaurus, let alone tame him. If this first task is still possible, then this second task is simply lifeless. The common little elf like the Carp King can be sold for 5,000 yuan per piece, and there are also 500 pieces to be sold. Generally speaking, these little elves only sell for 500 yuan per piece with elf balls. Thinking about it this way, Longya suddenly felt that his father was even more complicated. You should know that he is now the head of the Fujiwara family, which means that he has completed this trial task. This sleazy uncle has earned at least 2.5 million yuan with 500 Carp King. If he had learned this skill, he would have had no worries about food and drink. Dad, how did you do it? Teach me. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. System Gift Package. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 System Gift Package. Dad, how on earth did you sell 500 Carp Kings for no less than 5,000 yuan? Long Yi looked at Dad with a look of admiration. Well, that's a long story. At the beginning, I thought scarcity was the most precious thing, so I decided to go to a place where the Carp King was scarce to sell. I heard that there were many brave base in the Hezhong area, but there were very few Carp King, so I went there to sell them. However, there were still very few people willing to buy a Carp King for 5,000 yuan, and it was thanks to my constant deception. Well, thanks to my eloquence, I finally sold dozens of them. However, this method quickly became useless, and my Flash Supranosaurus did not land, so I changed my strategy. I returned to my family and raised the Carp King in this small river, trying to cultivate Carp King with different characteristics. You should know that the Carp King breed very quickly, and soon the Carp King filled the entire river. After receiving a trial mission from my family at the age of 10, I went to the Hezhong area and returned to my family after a year. It took me 5 years to cultivate more than 10 special Carp Kings from thousands of Carp Kings. The typical Carp King's dorsal and abdominal fins were golden, while the dorsal fins of the dozen or so Carp Kings I cultivated were light blue. So I bundled and sold the blue dorsal fin Carp King with more than a dozen ordinary Carp Kings, and I cultivated the remaining blue dorsal fin Carp King into a Tyrannosaurus, finally completing the family's trial mission. Seeing the proud expression on his father's face, Long Ye's previous reverence immediately decreased a lot. I thought you were selling all ordinary Carp Kings, but I didn't expect you to use the shining Carp Kings to level the price. Fujiwara Masayoshi didn't know what Ryuno was thinking. He patted Ryuno's shoulder and said, "Son, the Carp King is a symbol of our Fujiwara family's inheritance. In the future, you will also inherit my position as the clan leader. Therefore, your trial tasks will inevitably be related to the Carp King, so you need to be prepared now." This is the worst news that Ryuno has ever heard. Will he also have to spend several years with the flocks of Carp Kings? Or do you mean to go around deceiving people like you did after becoming a dad? Don't do it. That night, just as Ryuno was lamenting his dark future, the system prompt suddenly appeared. Ding, it has been detected that the host can now live normally in the pet elf world, so the beginner gift bar has officially issued it. Please check it yourself. During this period, because it was impossible to exchange anything in the mall, Longye did not pay attention to the system anymore. He did not expect such a surprise today. Returning to the pitch-black space of the past, Ryuno couldn't help but frown and say, "System, do I have to come to this place every time I check content in the future? If you don't like it here, I can project the selection interface directly onto your optic nerve, and this interface will appear directly in front of you, like a floating window. This design is good, let's change it now. It saves me from being thought I'm asleep every time I come in. By the way, the system, can you visualize it in a specific way? It's like I'm talking to myself when communicating with you like this." "No problem, please wait a moment." Ding. Ryuno realized that he had left the dark space just now, and the interface of the system appeared in front of him, very similar to the 3D projections in those science fiction movies. The realization is completed, and the virtual form begins to be used. A mechanical sound came, and the system with a specific form appeared before Ryuno's eyes. "I'll go, why don't you imitate those cute anime girls and make yourself look like an android robot? This is the system's default form and cannot be modified. Okay, let me see what this beginner's gift pack really has." Ryuno clicked on the icon of the gift box on the interface, and the page flashed directly into the introduction page of the big gift package. Newcomer Gift Pack. The host has already started living in a new world, and as a newcomer, achieving success is extremely difficult. Therefore, I am sending you some essential items to help you take every step in the future. 1 pair of specially designed travel shoes. Can double your speed bonus, and are comfortable, breathable, and wear-resistant, making them a must-have item for home travel. 1 simple fishing rod. Increases the chance of biting the hook by 10%, enjoy the fun of fishing. 6 regular Pokémon balls. Caught up with 6 Pokémon, are we still far from the championship? 3 withdrawal vouchers for the Archive Mall. Using 1 withdrawal voucher can give you a chance to select items in the Archive Mall. If things don't go too far, take good care of them. The travel shoes, fishing rods, and other items in front of this big gift package are really useless, but the last lottery ticket is a good thing. Now, Longye doesn't have much points and can only drool while looking at various items in the mall. Unexpectedly, the system suddenly gave him a big gift. Is the system still very generous? Longye looked at the android robot and found it very pleasing. System, since it happens to be the 3rd chance, then give me 1 each of Cleopatra, Gyoka, and Guladu. Come out, my 3 divine beasts of sea, land, and air. Ryuno put on the classic posture of Xiaoji every time he takes over Pokémon, but after waiting for a long time, he didn't notice any changes. When he turned his head, he saw the android robot transformed into a system, looking at him like an idiot. Well, doesn't it mean you can extract any item from the mall? Can't you choose a divine beast? Longye scratched his head and asked. Remind the host that you are receiving a draw voucher instead of a exchange voucher, which means that you need to draw in order to obtain items, and there is a certain probability that you will not be able to obtain items. The probability of drawing items with different points also varies. Please go to the Archive Mall to check the specific probability of drawing. The probability of each of the 3 little elves mentioned by the host being drawn is 1 in 100,000. Is the host confirming the draw? What? Wait. Longye, who felt cheated, quickly opened the interface of the mall and found that there was indeed a chance to draw behind each item. The probability of drawing ordinary props ranges from 100% to 50%, while the probability of drawing skill machines is lower, around 1.5 to 1/20th. However, the probability of drawing low-end skill machines such as water guns is 100%, only the 1st generation Pokemon game has water gun skill machines. As for the probability of extracting various items in important props, it is generally only a few percent, while the Pokémon ball, like ordinary props, is distributed from 100% of the ordinary ball to 1,000th of the master ball according to the degree of preciousness. For those props, Longye doesn't care about them now. There will be opportunities to exchange them for more points in the future. What Longye is most concerned about now is the probability of extracting the elves. Perhaps to take care of beginners, the extraction probability of the little elves is not as low as Longye imagined. Although there is basically no need to think about divine beasts, the extraction probability of other types of little elves is still very high. The extraction probability of sprites is roughly distinguished based on the current strength of the sprites. The stronger the strength of the sprites, the lower the extraction probability. Moreover, the extraction probability of evolved sprites is lower than that of pre-evolved sprites. For example, the extraction probability of Spitfire Dragon is 1/10, Fire Dinosaur is 1/5, and Fire Dragon is 1/3. This situation clearly makes Ryuno choose those initial Pokémon. After carefully examining the extraction probabilities of each elf, Longye quickly had his first target. A Carp King. This Carp King is different from an ordinary Carp King because it is a Flash Carp King, which can evolve into a red Rampage Carp Dragon. Thinking about the unique color of the Dragon Wild makes it feel very cool, and the most important thing is that the probability of this Flash Carp King's draw is as high as 80%. Dragon Wild estimates that the reason for its high draw probability is mainly because no matter how much it evolves, it does not have much combat power when it is still the Carp King. System, I want to extract this Carp King. Target confirmation, starting extraction. With the sound of the system, the icon of the Carp King selected by Ryuno began to flicker continuously, and after about 10 seconds, it finally stopped. Suddenly, the Carp King icon became larger. Ding, extraction successful. The Carp King you extracted has been loaded into the Pokéball and stored in the system's warehouse. Please check it yourself. Has the warehouse function been added? It's quite convenient. System, can anything be placed in the warehouse? Yes, but non-system issued items require a certain amount of points as management fees. Although this answer is not what Ryuno hopes for the most, it at least solves Ryuno's biggest problem at present. If he suddenly takes out a few Pokémon balls, travel shoes, fishing rods, and other things, there is really no way to explain it. Although the Carp King evolved to be very powerful, he was still very useless before evolution, so Longye now needs a fighting elf. After watching the animation, everyone may think that Xiaoji's Pikachu is very powerful and cute, but Ryuno knows that it is all Xiaoji's pig foot aura at work, and the real Pikachu is not that powerful. When it came to determining the second Pokémon, Ryuno was really conflicted for a long time. There was no way for Ryuno to have too many Pokémon he wanted. Whether it was a single-headed dragon, Yaya Dragon, Round Land Shark, or Leo Road, Ryuno was very fond of them. Moreover, the exchange points for these Pokémon were very high. If it weren't for this draw, it would be difficult to exchange them. However, looking at the 1/5 chance of drawing, Ryuno was hesitant because making a hasty choice could have wasted an opportunity. After thinking for a long time, Ryuno finally made a decision. System, I choose to draw Scorpio. As a rare and powerful little elf, Ryuno found that the probability of drawing Scorpio is actually the same as that of Little Fire Dragon. Where can I find such a cheap one? So Ryuno made a decision without hesitation after seeing Scorpio. Target confirmation, starting extraction. The same icon flickered as before, and 10 seconds later, Ryuno finally saw the image of the icon becoming larger, which means the extraction was successful. At this moment, the sound of the system also came over, confirming Longye's judgment. Ding, the extraction was successful. The scorpion you extracted has been loaded into the Pokémon ball and stored in the system's warehouse. Please check it yourself. Longye breathed a sigh of relief. After drawing the Carp King and Scorpio, his initial sprite was already complete. Even if he started traveling now, there would be no problem. There's one more chance, we should give it a try, Ryuno said lightly. Suddenly, Ryuno discovered that there were 2 IBS in the list of Pokémon, with one IB having a probability of 1.5 and the other IB having a probability of 1/10. Seeing this, Long Yi suddenly remembered something and his eyes widened. I didn't expect this Ibrahimovic to be able to be exchanged. If I hadn't looked carefully, I would have missed it, he said. System, I want to extract this IBU with a probability of 1 in 10. Ryuno's voice was firm yet slightly excited. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Daily Life. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Daily Life. System, I want to extract this IBU with a probability of 1 in 10. Ryuno's voice was firm yet slightly excited. Once the target has been confirmed, the extraction will begin. Looking at the constantly flashing IBU icon on the interface, Ryuno had already tightly clenched his fist, and his heart was beating at the same frequency as the icon flashing. Although it's a 1 in 10 chance, I've also drawn it twice before. My character is definitely not a problem, I can definitely draw it, Long Yi kept muttering to himself. As soon as Ryuno finished speaking, IBU's icon stopped flashing, and IBU's icon did not increase in size but instead turned gray. Ding, extraction failed. All 3 extraction vouchers have been used up. The items in the archive mall have been changed back to the points redemption interface. Watching the interface of the shopping mall return to its original state, Long Yi couldn't help feeling a wave of disappointment in his heart. Failed, although I had already thought of such a result before, when it really failed, Long Ye still found it difficult to accept. If it were other elves, Long Ye would not be so excited, because those elves can be seen in the world even though they are rare, but the special IBU in the mall is different. Long Ye thought it would not appear in the system mall, but this system was so awesome. That special IBU was created by a sudden idea while playing Pocket Monster Diamond in Long Ye. At that time, Long Ye discovered that IBU, a cute little elf, had 7 different evolutionary types. Long Ye did something that surprised later himself. Long Yi spent several hundred yuan he earned from his first part-time job and hired a programmer to help him modify the special IBU. A normal IB can only evolve into a unique evolutionary type, but the IB that Ryuno found someone to modify can freely switch between IB and several other evolutionary types. This means that this IB can evolve into a fire elf, a water elf, or several other types of elves. Later on, Ryuno began playing Pocket Monster Black and White, and his initial obsession with IBU gradually faded away. The special IBU he had modified became Ryuno's occasional memory. If it weren't for the discovery of 2 ibis in the system mall this time, Ryuno would really not have remembered them again. You should know that the Fujiwara family specializes in cultivating various little elves. If Ryuno could extract and cultivate that special IBU, it might become a new IBU variety. How exciting it would be! Suddenly, Ryuno realized that although he couldn't draw the IBU, he could exchange it through points normally. Even the creator god was clearly priced by the system, so that IBU must be no exception. Upon reflection, Ryuno quickly checked the page of the mall. The price tag behind the IBU was 100,000 points, which was indeed much higher than the normal IBU's 20,000 points. However, compared to the sky-high price of 10 million points from the creator god, there is still a great chance for this special IBU to be exchanged. Long Ye can't wait to travel now. You should know that fighting against elves is the only way to earn points. As for the system task of deceiving people, don't mention it. Long Yi has only been here for so long with a random task, and it is basically impossible to earn achievement points by relying on random tasks. As for those established tasks, the first few tasks are indeed easy to complete, just walking, riding a bicycle can complete them, but such tasks are still rare. Let's take a look at the following established tasks. Super Millionaire. Spending 10 million yuan in various stores, national collectors. Capture all the elves on the National Atlas, Warriors of War. Engage in 2,000 battles, the only one. Use only one elf to challenge the Elf Alliance. Can you say that these tasks can be completed by humans? Spend 10 million yuan, I'll go. Even if the Fujiwara family has money, they won't let me spend it like this. Just challenging the Elf Alliance with a single elf. Am I using the Creator God? Are all the 4 heavenly kings and champions using Green Caterpillar? The task of deceiving people has greatly reduced the number of achievement points that Longye can obtain. Longye feels that his future is pitch black. Hey, let's go sell Carp King with his father. Ding, there is an error in the host's understanding of the task. Here is an explanation. Only one. Using only one elf to challenge the Elf Alliance does not necessarily require the host to win, as long as the host only uses one elf from beginning to end to complete the task. Hehe, do you think I would be grateful if I explained it this way? Even if the difficulty of the task has decreased, there are also a series of tasks such as Ice Champion, Fire Champion, Poison Champion that are on par with this only one task. Each task requires using a single attribute of the Pokémon to challenge the Pokémon Alliance. So, how many times do I have to participate in Alliance competitions? Ding, due to the high difficulty of the established task, the system has decided to modify it. In the future, the established task will be refreshed once a year instead of being a unique task. The decision of the system finally made Longye's resentment no longer so deep, and Longye understood the meaning of the system modification, which was to tell him that even if he couldn't complete those difficult tasks, he could still brush through the simple ones ahead. Longye is very satisfied with this modification, as it increases his speed in earning achievement points. Switch the system interface to the warehouse interface, and Ryuno immediately sees 2 Pokémon balls in a pile of blank interfaces. These 2 fairy ball icons are marked with the words, Carp King and Scorpion respectively. Seeing the classic red and white ball style, Longye can't help but complain about the system's stinginess. Even if the fairy ball is an accessory, it is not enough to use the 2 most common fairy balls. Regardless of anything else, Ryuno clicked to retrieve 2 Pokémon balls. The first one to be released is undoubtedly the Carp King, which is the first Pokémon possessed by Ryuno. Pressing the button in the middle of the Pokéball, a white light flashed past, and the Carp King that Longye had drawn appeared on the floor. Seeing the Carp King lying flat and constantly bouncing, Ryuno came to the conclusion that this Carp King is very energetic, very healthy. After a few glances, Ryuno decisively took it back into the Pokéball. Sure enough, the most talented Carp King was still the Carp King. Longye decided that when summoning this Carp King in the future, he must put it in the water. The Carp King on the shore is even more unsightly than the horned goldfish. Fortunately, Longye still has a second little elf. Come out, Scorpio. A burst of white light flashed past, and a little elf with a wing membrane between its limbs, who looked like a scorpion, appeared in front of Ryuno. Looking at this little elf, Ryuno's mood improved a lot. Scorpio is a rare and powerful little elf, and it is destined to be one of Ryuno's main forces in the future. After coming out of the Pokémon Ball, Scorpio looked around and immediately rushed towards Ryuno. Ryuno had no reaction and was pinned down by Scorpio. The Scorpio continued to lick Ryuno's face with its tongue, indicating that it loved Ryuno very much. Of course, Ryuno could also feel the meaning of Scorpio, but he was not the weirdo of Xiaoji. The current Scorpio is even heavier than Ryuno himself, and Ryuno, who was pressed down like this, felt like he almost died. Hey, hurry up, I'm going to be crushed by you. After getting the Scorpio up, Ryuno also stood up and couldn't help but touch its head to comfort him when he saw the Scorpio's somewhat depressed look. You're good, I really like you. Let's work hard together in the future, he said, looking at the Scorpion's appearance. Ryuno couldn't help but say something very passionate. Wow, Scorpio let out a cry and then pounced on Longye. After confirming that he couldn't break the habit of Scorpio in a short period of time, Ryuno had to use a Pokéball to put it away. Do you have the same hidden attributes as Kojiro? I remember that guy's Pokémon always pounced on him. When watching the animation, I thought it was funny that Kojiro was always bitten on his head by his own pointed tooth cage. cordyceps, and always held by the desert Naya. But when it was really his turn, Ryuno realized that this feeling was not good. At this time, Ryuno really envied Xiaoji's superhuman physique that could easily lift 72 kilograms from Kira. Although both little elves were collected into the Poké Ball, Ryuno couldn't keep them in the Poké Ball. How should he explain the origins of these two little elves to Dad? Ryuno was plunged into distress for a moment. It's okay not to tell your parents to secretly put the two little elves in the yard. After all, the yard is so vast and there are two more little elves that no one will notice, but Longye doesn't want to just let them go. Especially that Carp King. If we don't cultivate it quickly, when will we have to wait to evolve into a Tyrannosaurus? Dad, I want to learn how to fish. Can you find me a fishing rod? Longye said to Dad early in the morning. Of course not a problem. You can aim for those Carp Kings in the river to exercise your fishing skills. Then you can prepare 2 more Pokémon balls for me. If I catch the Carp King, I still want to tame it. No problem, I'll give you these 2 red and white balls, Masayoshi Fujiwara said with a smile. By the small river, Longye sat quietly and threw the fishing hook into the river. Wow, I caught the Carp King. Let's get into the Pokémon ball. The Pokémon ball thrown by Ryuno didn't even flash, so he directly subdued the Carp King. I have conquered the Pokémon. Ryuno made a "walk you" gesture. At this moment, a scorpion suddenly descended from the sky and hugged Longye. Oh, what a fun little elf. You also like me, don't you? Ryuno threw out the Poké Ball again. Just like before, the suddenly appearing Scorpio was subdued without any struggle. Dad and Mom, I have tamed the little elves. Longye ran into the villa with a Pokémon ball in one hand. So the little elves are not difficult to catch at all. It goes without saying that the Carp King and the Scorpion were the little elves drawn by Longye in the system. This incident had already passed, but to everyone's surprise, the old butler in the villa saw the scene of Ryuno subduing 2 little elves. When he told others about this, the story of Ryuno subduing the 2 little elves without fighting spread. As everyone recounted, the originally ordinary story gradually turned into a mythological legend, and rumors emerged that the young master of the Fujiwara family was favored by the creator god and had an extraordinary affinity for various little elves. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Family Core Area. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Family Core Area. After making the appearance of the Carp King and Scorpio reasonable, Ryuno began training these 2 little elves. It's said to be 2 little elves, but in fact, Longye only trained Scorpio because he doesn't know how the Carp King should train Longye himself. According to his understanding, the Carp King could only learn 3 skills before evolution, namely water splashing, collision, and dying struggle. Even using skill machines seems like there is no way for the Carp King to learn other skills. For this reason, Longye allowed the Carp King to move on his own in the small river, as long as it didn't run out of this courtyard. You should know that although the Carp King is a very weak elf, Longye has his own plans. Even if he cannot defeat other elves, the Carp King can always treat the Carp King well. Longye only gave one command to his Carp King, which was to constantly fight against other Carp Kings in the river. Even if he lost, it didn't matter. Anyway, Longye could earn points by winning or losing. Although Ryuno did not command the battle of the Carp King, just 3 skills to command, Ryuno still prepared other things for the Carp King. The giant Carp King that Joey raised in the Orange Islands from a young age left a deep impression on Longye. The ordinary Carp King grew up to be about 1 meter long, but the Carp King surprisingly grew to an astonishing 3 meters long. After evolving into the Tyrannosaurus Rex, it also had a giant body size. Therefore, Ryuno is also preparing to cultivate his Carp King to such a size before allowing it to evolve. In recent days, Ryuno has been playing coquettishly with his mother and has received a timed supply of calcium from her. As a little elf with only bones but scales, Carp King must have calcium if he wants to grow up. Compared to the Carp King, Scorpio makes Lonya much more worry-free. As a little elf with 430 race value without evolution, Scorpio's strength satisfies Ryuno very much. Scorpio, use poison needles on the green caterpillar. With Lonya's command, the scorpion hanging upside down on the tree immediately sprayed a purple flying needle at a green caterpillar on the ground. Because it was an undeclared battle, the green caterpillar did not react at all and was hit by all the poison needles. Long Yi, who was originally planning to remind Scorpio to be careful of the green caterpillar's counterattack, discovered that the green caterpillar on the ground had turned into a mosquito-repellent eye, and Scorpio completed a decisive strike. Well done, Scorpio. Ryuno encouraged his little elf. This is the first battle of training between Ryuno and Scorpio, so Ryuno is careful to deal with a green caterpillar and launch a surprise attack. Although Ryuno knew that the green caterpillar was very weak, he didn't expect that this green caterpillar would be killed in one go. It seems like we can brush all the green caterpillars in this area, Ryuno shamelessly thought. For the green caterpillar that was knocked down, Lonya didn't have any intention of subduing it. This kind of elf is too weak, and it's good to evolve into a butterfly using various powders. However, when watching the animated version, the scene where Xiaoji let go of the butterfly moved Lonya very much. In order to avoid experiencing such a sad separation, Lonya thought it was better not to have the green caterpillar. This green caterpillar just fainted and was not poisoned, so after a while it woke up and quickly ran away. Seeing the green caterpillar run away, the scorpion hanging upside down from the tree glided and rushed towards Lonya. Needless to say, Lonya was once again attacked by his tongue. You are a Scorpio, and you are not a little elf like a big tongue. Why do you always like to lick people? Actually, Lonya doesn't understand. Scorpions are always flying scorpions, but with ground and flight attributes, a scorpion doesn't have poison attributes. Can you believe it? Pushing Scorpio aside, Ryuno checked his points. At this point, the data that was originally all 0 had finally changed. After defeating the green caterpillar, Ryuno gained 20 points. Although the number was very small, considering the almost non-existent combat power of the green caterpillar, Ryuno was also very satisfied with this result. Hey, Lonya, stop playing and come back quickly. Just as Lonya was preparing to have Scorpio sweep all the green caterpillars in the courtyard, his father suddenly called him over. What is it, Dad? I'm training my little elf. There will be plenty of opportunities for training in the future. Today, you come with me first, and I will take you home to the core area of the tribe. The core area of the Fujiwara family. Previously, I heard my father describe the Fujiwara family as so powerful. Now I can finally see those rare little elves. I'm here. Although my dad has said that those little elves cannot be given to Lonya now, it's still good to take a look. Is the mini dragon really so cute? Is it true that Kira has 72 kilograms? Long Yi is already eager to find answers to these questions. Dad, let's go quickly. Let's go. As soon as Uncle Carp finished speaking, Long Yi was surprised to see a suspended car coming out of the garage of his villa. Shall we drive this? Long Yi asked in surprise. Although he knew that the technology development in the pet elf world was very powerful, and even cats could create various types of robots, he had never seen anyone drive such a floating car in the animation. Is this the legendary black technology? This type of floating car was developed by our family based on the floating characteristics of the Pokémon, and has been used within the family without promotion. Ryuno, come up quickly. If you want to go to the core area of the family, you must pass through those grasslands and forests. Only this type of floating car is the most convenient. Long Yi got into this suspended car and found that it was not much different from a regular car. If it flew lower, it would be no different from a regular car. However, this was just the feeling when Ryuno first sat on it, and as soon as the floating car really started driving, Ryuno immediately felt different. Steady, this is the most direct feeling of Lonya. If you don't see the scenery outside constantly receding, you really can't feel it driving. The second feeling is that it's too fast. When driving on vast grass, there's no need to worry about hitting anything, so the speed of the suspended car has reached its limit. After about half an hour, the speed of the suspended car gradually slowed down, and Masayoshi Fujiwara told me that the core area of the Ryuno family had arrived. Through the car window, Longye discovered that there were many guards in the courtyard here, and the green caterpillars and other little elves that appeared in the grass were no longer the same as before. The number of little elves such as the mountain mouse and Nidoran began to increase. After another 10-minute drive, Longye finally saw a large complex of buildings. Come down, the core area of the family has arrived. Masayoshi Fujiwara stopped the floating car. It's best not to take a car while moving forward. If you drive there, you'll have to go through a lot of inspections. Let's just walk over there. Hello clan leader, hello young master. Hello clan leader. Everyone greeted the two people along the way, and Ryuno kept nodding in return. Have you seen those buildings? That's where the family conducts research on various props. The enclosed area is where the little elf eggs are cultivated, and that's the training center. Along the way, Masato Fujiwara kept introducing the surrounding buildings to Ryuno. Such a large area is like a small town. Didn't you always want to see the mini dragon? The lake in front is where the mini dragons in the family live, said Masato Fujiwara, pointing to a lake in front of me. Really? Upon hearing his father's words, Longye immediately ran towards the lake. Upon arriving at the lake, Longye's first reaction was that the water was very clear. At first glance, there were indeed some faint blue figures, indicating that they were the mini dragons that his father had mentioned. Just as Ryuno was observing intently, a small head suddenly popped out of the water and said, "It's a mini dragon. It's really so cute. The little one is not afraid of people." Ryuno boldly extended his finger and tapped on the nose of the mini dragon, feeling incredibly smooth and soft. The mini dragon that was suddenly encountered spewed a jet of water towards Longye, and I returned to the lake. Although these mini dragons are kept here, it is not allowed for the clan to catch them casually. Only with the unanimous approval of the elders will they be assigned to one, and there are many family guards guarding around this lake. Fujiwara Masayoshi said as he approached Ryuno. I was just looking, and I didn't say I wanted to take one. Ryuno stood up in frustration. After leaving Mini Dragon Lake, Longye saw many little elves, all of which were evolved, such as Duanjia, Kuailong, Banhila, etc. Even the Usanjia Longye in various regions saw many of them. It seems that the Fujiwara family is indeed very powerful. Dad, where are we going anyway? Longye, who had been walking for a long time, asked. All right, it's right ahead. Uncle Carp King pointed to the big mountain ahead and said. Longye never imagined that the core area of the Fujiwara family would be inside the mountain. Looking at the magnificent mountain in front of him, Longye couldn't help but guess whether these guys had emptied the entire mountain. According to my father, several elders who usually manage various family affairs reside in this mountain, and this mountain of inheritance is also the most important thing of the Fujiwara family. The elders also live here to protect the things inside this mountain. Longye is very curious about what can make a wealthy family like the Fujiwara family's treasure like this. Is it a divine beast? Soon, Ryuno felt ashamed of his own speculation. Even with the leadership of Fujiwara Masayoshi, the clan leader, Ryuno still underwent various inspections. A corridor filled with a modern atmosphere came through, and Ryuno was led by his father to a hall where 4 people were already waiting for Fujiwara Masayoshi and his companions. You're here, clan leader. Please take a seat, young master, said a middle-aged man sitting at the end. Fujiwara Masayoshi nodded and gestured to the 4 people. Let me introduce you to Ryuno. These are the eldest elder Fujiwara Jin, the second elder Fujiwara Yong, the third elder Fujiwara Haruki, and the 4th elder Fujiwara Hansong. Big elder is an old man, second elder is the middle-aged man who just spoke, third elder is the only woman among the four, fourth elder looks about the same age as Fujiwara Masahiro. Long Yi greeted the four people separately. A few of you, I brought Ryuno here this time to let him understand the inheritance of our Fujiwara family, and secondly to determine his future trial tasks with everyone. Fujiwara Masao, sitting among the four, spoke up. Since you think the time is right, clan leader, let's start. Anyway, every member of the legitimate lineage should know this secret, said the elder with a smile. Since that's the case, let's go now. Ryuno, let you see what our Fujiwara family has been guarding for generations. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. A great wave of divine beasts approaching. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. A great wave of divine beasts approaching. After symbolically speaking, Masayoshi Fujiwara stood up and clicked on the wall behind him. The entire wall quickly parted, revealing the thick iron door behind the wall. Long Yi saw Cheap Dad pressing his finger on a groove in the iron door, and a mechanical sound rang as the entire iron door slowly opened. It was only then that Long Yi could see clearly that the iron door was a full meter thick. Even if it were to destroy the dead light, it would take dozens of blows to break it, right? After the iron gate opened, the four elders also stood up from their seats. Every time I open this iron door, I need to use my legitimate bloodline. Poor thing, my fingers are pricked with small holes, said Masayoshi Fujiwara, who was still serious just now, turning back into a lewd expression. Your Highness, actually you can let us open the door, said the elder Fujiwara Jin helplessly. Oh my, of course we have to take action on such a grand matter ourselves. Alright, let's hurry inside. Fujiwara Masayoshi pointed forward with great momentum and said. Long Yi saw that the four elders were following closely, and he quickly came to his father's side. Behind the iron gate, there were no traps, mazes, or other things that Long Yi had imagined. It was just a relatively large space. Across from the iron gate was a protruding platform with four openings behind it. Elder. Fujiwara gestured to me. In Long Yi's shocked gaze, the elder took out an elf ball from his waist, and with a flash of white light, a frozen bird appeared. I'll go, this is at least one of the three divine birds. Would you like to take it out so easily? At least you can also take a more domineering pose. Just as Long Yi didn't know what the elder was going to do with this frozen bird, he pointed to the opposite cave entrance and said, Xiao Bai, get us an ice ladder to come out. With the order of the elder, the frozen bird skillfully used the frozen light to create a magnificent ice ladder, which was not only functional but also aesthetically pleasing. It can be seen that this frozen bird is not doing such a thing for the first time. This scene made Longye feel like a crow was flying over his head, and the scene before him was very similar to the situation when he played with Pokemon and caught a Bidiao to learn how to fly. Speaking of how powerful you are, Elder, even using the frozen bird as a tool to pet it. Even though Ryuno knows that this frozen bird cannot be compared to the divine beast on the island of Asia, there is still a bit of divine beast's dignity. Why do I feel that you are still very proud when you do this? Seeing that the other elders and daddies didn't care, Longye had to resist his own roast and hurry to pass the ice ladder with them. Later on, Longye learned that the elder was doing this to remind the younger generation in the family, making them proud of the family's strength and showing them their own differences and working hard to train. The most deceitful thing is that besides the frost bird of the elder, there are also the flame bird of the second elder, the lightning bird of the third elder, and the darkly of the fourth elder responsible for this matter. These four elders are all people with championship strength. Upon hearing this news, Long Yi had an impulse to hit the ground with his head. When did the three divine birds actually wholesale? A few people stopped at the entrance of the platform and said, Ryuno, these three caves are inhabited by the rock god pillar Regielak, the ice god pillar Regis, and the steel god pillar Regis Kairu. Would you like to take a look? Dad, are you talking about the three pillars? Are you referring to the three little elves created by the legendary Pillar King Regichicas in his own image? Longye wondered if he had misheard his father's words. That's right, it's them. Well, isn't there any danger? Longye asked cautiously, remembering that the ones guarding the World Tree were beaten whenever they saw anyone. It's okay, they can coexist peacefully with the members of our Fujiwara family and spend most of their time in deep sleep. Then I'll go take a look, said Long Yi, unable to resist his excitement. You can go by yourself first, we'll wait for you here. Ryuno cautiously arrived at the far left cave, which was not deep. As soon as he entered the cave entrance, Ryuno saw the motionless rock god pillar Regilok in the cave. Its H-shaped face composed of 7 dots is really interesting. Seeing it motionless, Ryuno's courage grew stronger. Just as Ryuno approached Regilok, the 7 small dots on his face flickered. The sudden change startled Ryuno, but after flashing for a while, those small dots seemed to confirm Ryuno's identity and no longer flickered, returning to the previous state. Longye ran to 2 other caves and saw other ice god pillars and steel god pillars. Each of them would flash its electronic eyes when they saw Longye. It has to be said that the shapes of these little elves are really strange, especially the ice god pillars, whose feet are actually pointed and cone-shaped. Dad, why are these 3 pillars located in the core area of our family? Did the members of the family subdue them? Longye remembers that the god of the battle pyramid subdued the 3 pillars. No, these 3 little elves are still wild elves. The reason they are here is to protect the dormant Pillar King Regichicas. Dad, are you saying that the Holy Pillar King is also here? Longye's voice suddenly became louder. Just go in and you'll know. Come with us, Fujiwara Masayoshi led me into the last cave. Unlike other caves, this cave is very deep, and Longye estimates that it can directly lead to the center of the Inheritance Mountain. After walking for about 10 minutes, Ryuno and his companions finally arrived at the end of the cave. Ryuno saw Regichicas sitting there like a stone statue at a glance. Unexpectedly, there really is the Holy Pillar King. Longye couldn't help but shudder. Is this what the family is guarding? Since the appearance of our Fujiwara family, this Regichicas has been guarding here. According to the family's ancient records, this Pillar King has awakened 3 times, each time helping the Fujiwara family solve a huge crisis. In fact, our family does not know much about it, but according to data, there is more than 1 Pillar King in the world, and it seems that there are 3 pillars guarding around each Pillar King. When Fujiwara Masayoshi looked at the statue like Holy Pillar King with infinite reverence, even the 4 elders were the same. However, this can also be understood. As the guardian deity of the family, Holy Pillar King deserves such reverence. Alright, that's it. The real core area of our family is now. You need to carefully observe Longye. What? So Awesome's Pillar King is not the core of the family. Fujiwara Masayoshi led Ryuno to the position behind the Holy Pillar King. Upon careful observation, Ryuno discovered that there was actually a stone gate on this wall covered in mysterious patterns. Behind the stone gate is the core area of our family. Only 1 person can enter here at a time. You can enter by yourself, remember to feel the power of your bloodline well. Looking at the stone gate in front of him, Ryuno swallowed his saliva fiercely. The true core area of the Fujiwara family is guarded by 4 elders with Alliance Championship strength, and the 3 divine birds, 3 divine pillars, and even the Holy Pillar King all exist around it. Now, even if there is a creation god dragon wild behind this stone gate, it won't be any strange. With excitement in his heart, Ryuno pressed his hand against the stone gate. A faint electric current swept through the entire gate and it rose upwards. After Ryuno entered, the gate closed again. A few elders, what kind of inheritance can Longye obtain this time? Fujiwara Masayoshi asked as he looked at the fallen Shermen. I don't know, although people with the legitimate bloodline of the Fujiwara family can receive the power to inherit and awaken the hidden bloodline inside, each person's awakened power is different. For example, I awakened superpowers while you, the clan leader, obtained the legendary waveguide power. No one can say what changes will occur before the young master comes out. When the elder spoke, he was very emotional. He had been an elder for decades and had seen too many family lineages come here to open their bloodlines and receive inheritance, without discovering any rules to follow. Some members of the legitimate lineage did not even awaken any power, but suddenly had a lot of information about the elves in their minds, which kept the Fujiwara family at the forefront of elf cultivation. Alright, let's not talk about it for now. Let's discuss Longye's trial mission. How many Carp King should he sell this time? Upon entering the back of the stone gate, Longye was unaware that his father was planning how to trap him. At this moment, he was already shocked by what was behind the stone gate. Just as Longye eagerly entered the stone gate, what he saw was an empty stone chamber, with strange symbols engraved on its walls and upper and lower sides. According to Longye's memory, these were all lost words. What about the agreed creator god? Is the result of the previous big battle just to see such an empty room? Still making me feel the power of my blood, is it making me meditate here? Just as Longye was at a loss, the symbols on the wall suddenly lit up, and slowly, it seemed as if something had come out of the wall. Looking at these things with only one round eye floating around him, Ryuno finally recognized them, and these were actually unknown totems. The unknown totem is a small elf with a body resembling ancient texts, and the existence of pre-existing texts or unknown totems is still a mystery, although under research. Unexpectedly, the things guarded by the Fujiwara family were a group of unknown totems. Wait, I remember the information said that when there is only one unknown totem, nothing will happen. When two or more appear, strange power will be generated. There are hundreds of unknown totems here. When Ryuno had no reaction at all, a large number of unknown totems suddenly surrounded him. Slowly, Ryuno's body floated in mid-air, and the unknown totems tightly wrapped around Ryuno like balls. There was no visible situation from outside, only the distortion of the air could be felt. Longye awakened the power of inheritance, practiced unparalleled martial arts, and began to single-handedly challenge various little elves. Even the divine beasts were trampled by him, and he defeated the league champions bare-handed, marking the beginning of the era of fighters. This concludes the book. Mouth mustache, wouldn't it be written in this mystical style of writing? End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Awakening Power and Trial Tasks. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Awakening Power and Trial Tasks. Surrounded by countless unknown totems, Ryuno felt that he had left the stone chamber just now. The surrounding scenery changed from sky to wilderness, and sometimes he even felt like he had become different little elves. The feeling of flying in the sky is really good, but not long after, Longye found that his blood was flowing rapidly. Moreover, something seemed to burst out of his blood. Is this what my father instructed me to feel the power of my blood? Slowly sinking down, Ryuno attempted to feel some special power from his restless bloodline, but after a long time, he found himself feeling nothing except a little hungry. System, are you there? Longye tried to contact the system, but there was no response from the system during this process. How can he wake up from this state? Won't you just starve to death like this? Longye, who had been in an abnormal state for a long time, couldn't help but become anxious. Dad, he really didn't give me any warning about such an important matter in advance, he said after a while. Ryuno noticed that the restlessness in his veins was weakening, replaced by a warm and comfortable feeling, as if soaking in a hot spring. However, this comfortable feeling did not last long because hunger had once again hit, and it should be noted that taking a shower is the easiest time to get hungry. Covering his stomach, Ryuno began to recall various information about the unknown totem. However, unfortunately, there was little introduction to the unknown totem in the game, and the mysterious power of the unknown totem was like the complete picture of the three mole mice, which had been unknown to people since the appearance of the little elf. However, there is not a lack of mention of the abilities of unknown totems. In the theatrical version of The Emperor of Crystal Tower, the abilities of unknown totems are described, which can crystallize objects and also manifest imagined things. Of course, there is also the ability to move in different spaces. These seem to be just a part of the unknown totem's mysterious abilities. This is really a kind of mysterious little elf. Just as Ryuno sighed, the unknown totems that had disappeared suddenly appeared next to him and once again surrounded him into a ball. This scene change was not as beautiful as before, and the rapid transformation of scenery was dazzling. While Ryuno was still feeling a bit confused, the surroundings became completely black and white. Small fragments of images kept passing through Ryuno's body. Just as he was about to fall asleep by these lights and shadows, the unknown totems suddenly put him down. After Ryuno landed steadily on the ground, all the unknown totems turned back into symbols on the walls of the stone chamber. The dim light made Ryuno unsure of when it was now, but his constantly making noises told him that he must have been staying in this stone chamber for a long time. Arriving at the entrance of the stone gate, Long Yi pressed his hand against it. This time, the speed at which the stone gate started was much faster than when he entered. Ryuno, you're out. How do you feel? Has there been any change? Fujiwara Masayoshi asked with concern. I don't feel much, I'm just very hungry. Long Ye's answer caused Dad and all four elders next to him to fall to the ground. All right, you've been staying in the stone chamber for a whole day and you're really hungry. Let's go out and eat first. Knowing that it wasn't a hurry now, Masayoshi Fujiwara decided to take Ryuno out first. Delicious, Dad, please give me a portion of this almond biscuit. At the place where the four elders were first seen, Long Yi wolfed down his food, unconsciously forming a thick stack of plates around him. Ryuno, is it really okay for you to eat like this? Fujiwara Masayoshi asked with a worried expression on his face. It's not that he cares blindly, it's just that Ryuno has eaten too much. Long Yi, who is only 7.5 years old, has already consumed the appetite of almost 3 adults in such a short period of time. It's okay, I'll be full with another plate of almond cookies, Long Yi muttered. He was also surprised that he could eat so much food, but as soon as those things entered his stomach, they seemed to be instantly absorbed without any feeling of fullness. Clan leader, based on the current situation of the young master, it should be certain that he has awakened some kind of power, but the specific reason is not yet clear, said the elder kindly. Finally, when Long Yi was full, his father and 4 elders surrounded him like interrogators. Ryuno, what difference do you feel now? Fujiwara Masayoshi asked urgently. Does eating too much count? Don't make a fuss, this is a very important matter. Well, under the angry glare of his father, Long Yi could only obediently feel what had changed in him. Just as Long Yi closed his eyes and pondered, his body floated up in the surprised eyes of his father and elders, or rather suspended in mid-air. It's a superpower. Being able to suspend oneself just after awakening seems to have a high level of awakening, said the 4th elder Fujiwara Hansong in surprise. Before anyone else could speak, Long Yi slowly fell to the ground with his eyes closed. Amidst the puzzled gazes of everyone, Long Yi tightly grasped the spoon he had just eaten with. After he released his hand, the entire spoon turned into something crystal-like. For such changes, Ryuno opened his mouth wide, but soon the crystallized spoon returned to its original shape, and Ryuno's stomach began to cry again. Now everyone has finally understood the ability of Dragon Wild Awakening, with superpowers and the ability to temporarily crystallize objects. These abilities all seem very good, but after a series of rigorous tests by the elder, it was found that although Long Yi's superpowers have strong growth potential, they cannot communicate with the elves, which means it is difficult to help the elves in battles. And another crystallization ability is indeed very powerful. It can not only crystallize objects but also create crystals out of thin air. These crystals are very strong. However, this ability has a very big problem, which is that it consumes a large amount of ability when used, which is also the reason why Longye quickly becomes hungry. Although he has some shortcomings, Ryuno is very satisfied with his two abilities, especially his superpowers. As long as he practices them well, his safety is definitely guaranteed. At this point, Ryuno finally knew why the Fujiwara family had been able to inherit for so long and become an invisible powerhouse that the Alliance feared. This, bloodline awakening, is like a fortress with a wooden structure. It's like mass production of Superman with a wooden structure as soon as you enter and exit. Over time, the Fujiwara family has become a concentration point for Superman, which is even more impressive than the Avengers in the manga. After confirming the awakening ability of Longye, the Elder recorded these awakening abilities in detail. According to the Elder, the awakening ability of each legitimate member in the family will be recorded in detail. The family has been hoping to find the pattern of awakening ability from it, but after so many years, there has been no harvest. Alright, now that you have completed your ability awakening, we can also tell you your trial task. After Ryuno ate a lot of food crazily again, Fujiwara Masayoshi smiled and said to Ryuno, "Dad, why do I always have an ominous feeling when I look at your smile? It must be an illusion. I discussed your trial task with several elders for a long time before deciding. As long as you pass this trial task, you will definitely have no problem inheriting the position of clan leader in the future. Alright, I'm already mentally prepared. Just tell me what the task is, Dad." First of all, of course, it's about cultivating a Tyrannosaurus Rex. This time, taking care of you won't require you to cultivate a shining Tyrannosaurus Rex. Fujiwara Masayoshi said the first task as if you had taken advantage of it. Sure enough, it's related to the Carp King, but even if you ask for the Flash Rampage Carp Dragon, we still have it. The first task is not a big deal for Ryuno. He was originally going to cultivate a Carp King, but now Ryuno is most concerned about the next task. The second task is also very simple, it's the question of the Pokémon guidebook. What? Longye originally thought this would be another trap mission for the Carp King, but he didn't expect it to be related to the Pokémon guide. According to the proposal of Dr. Oki, who collaborates with our family is working together to research something called the Pokémon Encyclopedia. This kind of thing is like an encyclopedia, which records information about various Pokémon. When you encounter a Pokémon you don't know, just take out the encyclopedia and you can search for relevant information. The proposal for the Pokémon guide has been approved by the family, which means we will collaborate with Dr. Oki to build the framework for the Pokémon guide, and our family will provide him with some basic Pokémon information. Your trial task is to participate in the manufacturing of this elf guidebook and improve it, including recording those special locations and the locations where the Flash Pokémon appear. After the completion of the guidebook, our family will create a new family version of the Pokémon guidebook, which will have extremely comprehensive content. The reason for giving you such a trial task is also to hope that you can receive training. I and a few elders have a premonition that the trainer's level will improve quickly after the appearance of the Little Elf Guide. In order to adapt to such changes, all of this will start from you, Dad. Don't worry, I will definitely complete this task well, Longye said solemnly. Since it's not a bizarre task like selling Carp King, Longye wouldn't object too much, let alone this task is very in line with Longye's wishes. Completing the guidebook means traveling to different places. How could Longye disagree with the good thing of completing tasks while traveling? However, through this incident, Ryuno also came to the conclusion that there are still many years left until the start of the animated plot. Although it's a bit regrettable not to see Xiaoji now, for Longye, these are nothing. Anyway, he himself has already entered the world of pet elves, and starting a trip of his own will be interesting. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Zhenxin Town and Dr. Daimu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Zhenxin Town and Dr. Daimu, Go, Carp King. Use water splash jump to break free from the control of superpowers, said Ryuno to his shining Carp King by the small river. Since Ryuno awakened the power of his bloodline in the core area of his family, he began special training for the Carp King and Scorpio. Every day, Longye uses his newly acquired superpowers to suppress the Carp King and Scorpio, constantly breaking free from this suppression. This special training not only helps Ryuno exercise their superpowers but also enhances the resistance of Carp King and Scorpio to superpowers, making it much easier for them to encounter some Pokémon with superpower attributes in the future. After a month of training, the Carp King and Scorpio have fully adapted to being suppressed by superpowers, and their bodies have become much stronger. After all, being suppressed by superpowers is like being completely immersed in mud, and continuous training in such a situation will greatly enhance natural strength. After more than a month, Longye's shining Carp King has grown to the size of an adult Carp King with sufficient calcium supply. Longye believes that as long as it is given time, it will definitely become a giant Carp King, and then Longye will get a giant rampage Carp Dragon. Although Ryuno has never played the game Pocket Monster XY, there are many resources available online in the game. The most important element in the game, Mega Evolution, has captivated Ryuno. The Mega Evolution form of the Super Tyrannosaurus Rex can only be said to be handsome and lifeless. The family trial mission of Ryuno is to cultivate a stormy Carp Dragon and participate in the production of the Pokémon Illustrated. Ryuno has no resistance to these two tasks, and to complete the production of the Pokémon Illustrated, he must go to many places. Ryuno has made up his mind to go to the Carlos area if there is a chance, and Ryuno must obtain the super evolution of the stormy Carp Dragon Stone Ryuno. During this period of training, Ryuno has become very proficient in mastering his superpowers, but he has never had the opportunity to exercise his other awakening ability. It is not that Ryuno does not want to exercise the crystallization ability, but that too much energy is consumed when using the crystallization ability. After each use, Ryuno immediately eats a lot of food. If this problem is not solved, it will be difficult for Ryuno to use the crystallization ability. However, in the past month or so, Ryuno has not gained anything, as he has finally figured out a question he has always wanted to know. When watching the anime, Pet Elves, in the past, Ryuno was sometimes surprised by what the people in the anime were eating. Although most of the food in the anime was desserts or fruits, there was still meat. Moreover, the Pokémon guide in the game also mentioned that some Pokémon have a delicious taste. For example, the picture book of scallion duck clearly states that when eaten with specific plants, the taste of scallion duck is extremely delicious, so the quantity becomes extremely small, making it a precious magical treasure. Based on the above 2 points, Ryuno came to a conclusion at that time. People in the elf world eat elves. After reaching this conclusion, Ryuno's whole body felt bad. Yukiya, along with some dark Pokémon fan fiction that Ryuno had read, almost caused him to suffer from depression. It wasn't until a long time later that Ryuno was no longer obsessed with this unanswered question. After arriving in the world of Pokémon, Ryuno also discovered the presence of meat in his daily food. At first, he didn't remember it until he started practicing his crystallization ability before suddenly noticing this issue. "Mom, is this meat we're eating from the elf's body?" When Ryuno nervously asked his mother this question, she was taken aback for a moment and then slapped Ryuno's head in tears and laughter. "How could you think that way? Little elf is a good friend of humans." After his mother's explanation, Ryuno realized that hundreds of years ago, when technology had not yet developed, it might have been what Ryuno thought. However, since the emergence of human biological and genetic technology hundreds of years ago, all human meat has been produced through artificial cultivation. This artificial meat obtained through stem cell culture is obtained in a nutrient-rich medium, and the finished product is the meat that people see, without any trace of elves. Upon hearing his mother's explanation, Ryuno immediately felt that he had been cured. The problem that had plagued him for many years had finally been solved, and Ryuno felt relieved as he ate the hamburger in his hand. "Mom, when can I go out and become a Pokémon trainer?" Ryuno asked while nibbling on a hamburger. Do you want to become a Pokémon trainer? Asked Sakurai, her mother. That's right. My family's trial mission is to cultivate a koi dragon and complete the production of the Pokémon guidebook. These two tasks do not conflict with me becoming a Pokémon trainer, and I can complete them while traveling. Sure enough, it's related to the Carp King again. The tradition of the Fujiwara family has remained unchanged for thousands of years, Sakura Nagisa said with a look she knew she would. But your mission is better than your father's mission, at least you don't have to go around deceiving people. Speaking of Fujiwara Masayoshi's trial mission, Sakurai Nagisa couldn't help but smile, thinking that she knew a lot about Fujiwara Masayoshi's past experiences. Longye was secretly grateful for what his mother had said. If he were to sell the Carp King, Longye really wouldn't have that thick skin. By the way, son, your trial task is to participate in Dr. Oki's Pokémon Encyclopedia manufacturing work and complete the Fujiwara family's own Pokémon Encyclopedia. In this case, you still need to get in touch with Dr. Oki in advance. I think so too. But how can I contact Dr. Oki? This matter is easy to handle. Dr. Daimu's current research institute is located in Zhenxin town, not far from our current villa. It seems that Dr. Daimu is running a Pokémon summer camp. You can go and participate in this summer camp. It was not until then that Longye realized that his villa was not far from Zhenxin town. Perhaps he could see Xiaoji and the others when he went to meet Dr. Daimu this time. Dr. Daiki's Pokémon summer camp is actually about organizing some local children to go out into the wild and have close contact with the little elves, so that children can establish the concept of being friends with the little elves from a young age. Later, the trainers who went out of Zhenxin town achieved good results, perhaps thanks to this. The fact that Dr. Oki organized the Pokémon summer camp was not mentioned in the first few episodes of the animated version. Until after the broadcast of the Pet Elf XY animation, people only learned about the Pokémon summer camp from the memories of the female protagonist Serena. When Shalina was still young, she was reluctantly sent to Guandu to participate in the Pokémon summer camp organized by Dr. Oki. During training, Selena got lost in the forest when a mosquito-repellent tadpole rushed out of the grass. She was frightened and fell, injuring her leg as well. At this moment, Xiaoji, who was searching for mosquito coils and tadpoles, discovered Shalina. After learning about the situation, Xiaoji wrapped her wound with his own handkerchief. But Selena said she couldn't stand up, and Xiaoji kept encouraging her to never give up. With Xiaoji's encouragement, Selena finally stood up and leaned against Xiaoji's shoulder. Xiaoji led Selena back to the campsite. Afterwards, Selena intended to wash the handkerchief and return it to Xiaoji, but missed the opportunity. Years later, Serena saw Xiaoji coming to the Carlos area on TV and traveled with her as a newcomer trainer. When I first saw this plot, Longyi had a sudden realization. I just said before, there were so many female protagonists like Xiaoxia, Xiaoyao, Xiaoguang, and Alice. Why didn't Xiaoji choose any? It turns out this guy already has a goal. Regardless of the question of who Xiaoji chose, accompanied by the old butler Shanhua, Longye finally arrived at the Dr. Oki Research Institute in Zhenxin town and met Dr. Oki himself. Doctor, your idea of creating a Pokémon guidebook has been recognized by the Fujiwara family. The person next to me is Fujiwara Ryuno, the young master of our clan. The family hopes that he can participate in the production of the guidebook, Yamamoto said to Dr. Oki. No problem, Ashen. Dr. Oki seems to be very familiar with Uncle Shan. I love taking care of children the most. Longye, you can stay at my house for now. Hello Dr. Oki, I am Fujiwara Ryuno. I will be bothering you frequently from now on, Ryuno said politely. I admire Dr. Oki Ryuno very much. When he was young, Dr. Oki was also a Pokémon trainer and the champion of the First League competition. He has been taken away by evil organizations multiple times and is a senior doctor with rich experience in being taken away. After entering grade, I started working on elf research, mainly studying the relationship between humans and elves. Such a person who has achieved great success in both fields is still worthy of Longye's admiration. However, the current Dr. Oki is younger than what Ryuno saw in the animated version, which indirectly indicates that Ryuno's grade is older than that of Koji and others. Perhaps after seeing Komeo at Dr. Oki's house, one can know exactly when it is now. Goodbye, Uncle Sean. I will stay here. Well, Longye waved to the old butler. Goodbye, young master. Ashen is still the same as before, Dr. Oki said. Come on, Longye, I'll show you where you live. Dr. Daiki's home and his research institute are together, and Ryuno quickly chose his own room. Grandpa, you're back. Tell me a story quickly. A little girl ran over and hugged Dr. Oki's legs, saying in a milky voice. Nanami, can we wait for a while? Grandpa is greeting the guests. Then you must be fast. After the little girl ran away, Dr. Oki turned back to Ryuno and said, Ryuno, that was my granddaughter, Okinami Okinawa, who is 3 years old this year. I also have a newborn grandson. If there's a chance, I can show you. Your granddaughter is very cute, said Ryuno. At this point, Ryuno already knew what time it was. The grandson that Dr. Oki had just mentioned must have been the later Xiaomao. As for Dr. Oki's granddaughter Nanami, it was not mentioned in the animated version, but it has appeared in comics and the game Pokemon Fire Red Leaf Green. Ryuno also has some understanding of this Xiaomao's sister. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Battle with New Trainers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Battle with New Trainers. In Ryuno's memory, Dr. Oki in the animated version is not very old, only in his 50s. Because in the 2001 theatrical version of Shirabi and the Encounter of Time and Space, Yuki Oki traveled through 40 years of time and space to meet Koji. At that time, Yuki was only in his teens, so it can be inferred that when Koji set off, Dr. Oki was in his early 50s. Now, when Ryuno saw Dr. Oki, Shimo had just been born, which means that Dr. Oki is only in his early 40s now, and he is just middle-aged. Of course, this encounter that transcends time and space can also explain why Dr. Oki took so much care of Kochi later on. The stories that Dr. Oki and Kochi's mother, Hanako, had to tell were purely parodies. After living at Dr. Oki's house in Ryuno, his life did not change much. The Carp King and Scorpion were brought by Ryuno, and Ryuno could train them in Dr. Oki's yard every day. The only change is food. No wonder Dr. Oki always eats instant noodles in the animation. Ryuno thought it was just for character effects, but when Ryuno really lived at Dr. Oki's house, he finally witnessed his passion for instant noodles. Due to the need to create a Pokémon guidebook, Dr. Oki spent most of his time in the research room, and at this time, convenient and fast instant noodles became his first choice. Fortunately, Dr. Oki still remembers Nanami and Ryuno, and did not let the two children eat instant noodles with him. However, the fast food he bought every day also made Ryuno complain for a long time. By the pool, Longye is feeding the Carp King calcium slices. Brother Longye, I'm here to find you again. Nanami shook her small hand and ran towards Longye with a bouncing motion. Seeing Nanami running over with unsteady steps, Longye quickly bent down to support her. This little girl is so lively, I really don't know how she usually gets along with Dr. Oki, who is dedicated to research. Nanami, aren't you having breakfast? Why did you run out again? Longye pinched Nanami's face and asked. Nanami wants to see the big fish. Nanami's meaty little hand pointed to the Carp King in the river and said. You've watched it so many times but haven't seen enough yet. I really don't know what's good about the Carp King. At this moment, Nanami had already broken free from Longye and supported her hands to the edge of the pool, throwing the food prepared by Longye for the little elf to the Carp King. Big fish, eat now, she said. Watching Nanami Ryunoi constantly feeding the carp, she secretly felt relieved. Fortunately, the Carp King was different from the goldfish on Earth. When they couldn't eat it, they stopped eating it. Otherwise, with Nanami's feeding method, Ryunoi would have been worried about the Carp King. It has been a month since Ryuno came to Dr. Oki's place. Ryuno did not participate in the Pokémon summer camp mentioned by his mother. The reason why Ryuno wanted to participate in this summer camp was to see Koji and Komeo. Now Ryuno knows that they have just been born, so he doesn't want to be with a group of 5 or 6-year-old children. Nanami, what is Dr. Oki doing? Grandpa, he's sending little elves to each sister, Nanami said with a soft and gentle voice. It turns out today is the day for the new trainer to collect the initial Pokémon. Ryuno has never seen such a situation before. Let's go, Nanami, come with me to find Grandpa. Let's go feed the big fish when we come back, okay? Okay. Those older brothers and sisters are all so interesting. Leading Nanami to Dr. Oki's research institute, Ryuno saw 2 trainers who came to collect the initial Pokémon. The initial elves recommended for beginners in raising elves in Zhenxin town are Johnny Turtle, Little Fire Dragon, and Bulbasaur Seed. As for which one to choose, it's up to you to choose. Bulbasaur Seed is easy to raise and is very suitable for beginners. Raising them is effortless. The Little Fire Dragon has a gentle personality and strong strength, but it is important to always pay attention to the flames on its tail. If the flames weaken, it indicates that it is weak. The most important thing is that the strength of the Little Fire Dragon is related to its state. If you want the Little Fire Dragon to exert its strongest strength, trainers need to constantly encourage it. If you feel that you cannot achieve this, it is best not to choose the Little Fire Dragon. Jenny turtles have strong defense due to their shell protection. They have gentle behavior, are easy to raise, and can make friends with other Pokémon friends. They are loyal to trainers and groups. Have you 2 decided which elf to choose as your initial elf? Dr. Daiki's introduction made the 2 newcomers think for a while, but soon they made a decision. I choose Little Fire Dragon. I choose Bulbasaur Frog Seed. Since you have decided, then these 2 are the Pokémon balls of Little Fire Dragon and Bulbasaur Seed. You need to take good care of them. In addition, these are 6 Pokémon balls. You can conquer your favorite Pokémon through battles. Alright, start your journey as trainers. Yes. The newcomer who received the Bulbasaur Frog Seed quickly ran out, and Ryuno quickly called out to another person, "Hello, my name is Ryuno Fujiwara. Can you play a Pokémon battle with me?" "Hello, I'm Xiaobo from Zhenxin town. Come on, I'll take your challenge. I am truly the trainer who chose Little Fire Dragon, and I do have a willingness to challenge myself." Under the leadership of Dr. Oki, Ryuno and Kobo arrived at the yard, with Ryuno and Kobo standing on either side. "My little elf is the Little Fire Dragon, come on, Little Fire Dragon. My elf is it, come out Scorpio." Dr. Daimu, like Xiaobo, stared at the Scorpio for a long time and said, "Ryuno, isn't this a little elf from our Guandu area?" "That's right, I also got this scorpion by chance." The doctor nodded and said, "So I'll be the referee for this competition." "We're all ready, let's start the competition." The Little Fire Dragon uses its claws. As the competition began, Xiaobo first launched an attack and saw that Xiahulong had sharp claws on his short hands, shining with cold light as he fiercely grabbed the Scorpio. "I am not nervous about such an attack on Dragon Wild. You should know that Scorpio's physical defense is extremely strong, and the speed of that Little Fire Dragon is not as fast as Scorpio's." Longye had no command at all, and Scorpio easily grabbed Little Fire Dragon's claws with pliers, without giving Little Fire Dragon any reaction time. Scorpio directly knocked Little Fire Dragon away. A 60-kilogram Scorpio collided with a less than 10 kilograms Little Fire Dragon, resulting in the Little Fire Dragon losing its combat effectiveness. The quick resolution of the battle left Xiaobo stunned. After a while, he realized, "Are you okay, Little Fire Dragon?" Dr. Daiki examined the little dragon and said, "The little dragon is fine. Just rest inside the Pokémon ball and it will be fine." "Thank you, Dr. Oki." Xiao Bo thanked Dr. Oki while holding little fire dragon, and then he looked at Long Yi. "Long Yi, you are very strong now, but I won't easily give up. In the future, I will definitely defeat you. I'm looking forward to fighting with you," Ryuno said awkwardly. This game was initiated by Ryuno, and his strong victory over the opponent inevitably gave people a feeling of bullying the weak. However, Ryuno swore that he really didn't think so. This was also his first time engaging in a Pokémon battle. Ryuno's initial goal was to test the systems, battle statistics, function and earn some points. Xiaobo took Xiaohualong into the Pokéball and left, and Longye quickly checked the points he had earned in his first battle. He saw that the points column, which was originally 0, had now changed to 50. At the same time, he also completed the established task of fighting against new players and obtained 10 achievement points. Longye is one step closer to the goal of 100,000 points. After Xiaobo left, Nanami immediately hugged Longye's leg and said, "Longye, you're so amazing. You've won so many times." "Ryuno, you did a great job," Dr. Oki said with a smile. "Doctor, please don't praise me. Thinking back now, I was too reckless. I experienced failure as soon as I got the little elf. If it weren't for Xiao Bo's good mentality, it would be difficult for ordinary people to accept such a blow." After all, Long Yi was in his 20s and quickly thought of the problem just now. "Ryuno, you can think this way very well, which shows that you have a kind nature. However, every trainer cannot have smooth sailing. They always need to learn to face setbacks. If they cannot even tolerate a small failure, they cannot become a qualified Pokémon trainer." Dr. Oki was very satisfied with Ryuno's performance, but he said, "Ryuno, as you just saw, the little elf you brought out actually doesn't even know the child. This indicates that the new trainer lacks knowledge about the little elves, which will make their future travels very difficult. So did you think of making a Pokémon guidebook?" "That's right, there's no need for detailed information. Just letting new trainers know the basic information such as the names and attributes of the elves they meet can be of great help to these new trainers." "Dr. Daiki, I believe your goal will be achieved soon," said Ryuno sincerely. "That's right, I'm currently building the overall structure of the Pokémon guide. When the time comes, all I need to do is input the Pokémon information that your Fujiwara family gave me into the guide. Thanks to your family's help, if I were to collect this information myself, I don't know how long it would take. The family also hopes to create their own Pokémon encyclopedia for use, and your contribution here is irreplaceable. Grandpa, brother, stop talking anymore. Nanami is hungry." Nanami interrupted the conversation between Longye and Dr. Oki, and said pitifully, covering her stomach. Longye lightly nodded on Nanami's head and said, "You little one didn't taste good breakfast, you're hungry now. Since Nanami is hungry, I'll order you another takeout." "It's takeout again. Do you want to eat instant noodles? It's better to have takeout." End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Preparation before travel. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Preparation before travel. The development of Dr. Oji's Pokémon guide is not progressing smoothly, and there is a problem that Dr. Oji has not been able to solve. The Pokémon Encyclopedia is not a simple Pokémon encyclopedia. Simply allowing users to search for information from it is not enough, because often trainers do not know the names of the Pokémon they encounter, and they cannot directly enter their names to search. So Dr. Oki hopes that the Pokémon guide can automatically recognize the encountered Pokémon, and to achieve this function, an excellent contrastive recognition system is necessary. Machines and humans are different. A person can easily compare images with objects to determine their corresponding relationship, but it is difficult for machines to achieve this. In order for the Pokémon Illustrated to achieve the desired function of Dr. Oki, the Pokémon illustrated must be able to separate the Pokémon images from the images captured by the camera, and then compare the separated images with the content in the database to display the correct Pokémon information. The comparison process here is the most difficult because a little elf can perform various actions, and to achieve such a comparative recognition effect, the image book system itself needs to have a certain level of intelligence. It took Dr. Daiki a year and a half to complete the construction of the guidebook system, and the functions of the Little Elf guidebook can be basically realized. At this time, Ryuno also participated in Dr. Oki's work. Although he did not know how to develop systems, he was still capable of inputting data. After organizing the elf information provided by the Fujiwara family, Ryuno entered it into the guidebook. During the process of organizing the information, Ryuno also remembered it. In fact, this is also one of the reasons why the family requires Ryuno to participate in the guidebook manufacturing work. The work of organizing various materials took another 6 months, and now the elf guidebook can be said to be basically completed. However, before it is finally confirmed, there is still the most important program, which is to conduct actual verification. Dr. Daiki handed over a completed guidebook to Ryuno, who is now working in the yard to continuously use guidebooks against various elves and see if the guidebook can correctly recognize them. After a week of crazy testing, the Pokémon illustrated successfully withstood the test. The recognition rate of various Pokémon reached 100%. As long as all the Pokémon in the data can be recognized, when encountering Pokémon that are not in the data, they will prompt "data is currently unavailable," and there will be absolutely no recognition errors. This result made everyone relax, and the meaningful Pokémon illustrated book has finally been completed. After the completion of Dr. Oki's first-generation Pokémon illustrated, the Fujiwara family sent someone to the Research Institute to copy and take away all the information related to the Pokémon illustrated, which was also agreed upon at the beginning. Young Master Longye, you will be 10 years old in a few months. When you reach the age to travel, the clan leader hopes that you will go back and prepare early, said the old butler Shanbua to Longye. I see, I need to tidy up today. Send someone to pick me up tomorrow. Okay, young master. Shanbua and other family members quickly left, while Longye came to Dr. Oki's yard. Come back, Carp King. Longye took the Carp King swimming in the pond back into the Pokéball. After more than 2 years of calcium cultivation, the current Carp King has grown to 2 meters long and weighs 4 times as much as an ordinary Carp King. It can be said that he is a true giant. Although he participated in the production of the Pokémon illustrated, Ryuno never fell behind in training the Carp King and Scorpio. The Pokémon in Deen Oki have already been defeated by Scorpio, and Scorpio's strength is definitely worthy of its high race value of 430. In addition to Pokémon training, Ryuno's development of simulator systems has also been very effective in the past 2 years. Since the simulator system changed its established task to refresh once a year, Ryuno has been working hard to complete as many established tasks as possible. Due to various limitations, Longye can complete approximately 23 to 25 established tasks each year, with different achievement points for each task. However, overall, Longye can earn 1,000 achievement points per year, which is equivalent to 5,000 points. 5,000 points per year can be considered a good harvest for Ryuno now. After 2.5 years, Ryuno has only earned 15,000 points through the established mission. In addition, the Carp King and Scorpio have continuously fought against other Pokémon to earn 8,000 points, and Ryuno is getting closer to his goal. Are you leaving, brother Longye? Nanami ran over and asked while Longye was packing up. Yeah, I need to go home first and then go on a trip. But Nanami can't bear to part with you. I don't want you to leave. The little girl's watery big eyes were so likable that Ryuno could only console Nami by saying, Nami, be good. I promise to call you every day, so you can see me every day. Besides, Ryuno, I will bring back many gifts for Nami after I go out. In the past 2 years at Dr. Oki's house, Ryuno and Nanami have been getting along very well because Dr. Oki is busy with research work and has always been accompanied by Ryuno to play with Nanami. Now, Nanami is even closer to Ryuno than her own grandfather, Dr. Oki. Sometimes Ryuno is thinking about whether he will be with Nanami in the future. You should know that there is only a difference of just over 3 years between the two, and when Ryuno becomes Komeo's brother-in-law, it's interesting to think about it. Shaking his head fiercely, Long Yi quickly threw away these chaotic thoughts. Really? You promise to call me every day? I promise. Ryuno reached out and gave Nanami a high five. With Ryuno's comfort, Nanami finally accepted Ryuno's decision to travel, which made Ryuno breathe a long sigh of relief. When he returned home, Long Yi first went to meet his parents. Although Long Yi often called home when he was with Dr. Oki, calling was different from actually going home. You've come back, Longye. You've grown a lot taller, my mother kept touching Longye after seeing him. This time, my son is a truly handsome young man. Mom, where's Dad? Longye asked, breaking free from the hand that was constantly rubbing his face. He has returned to the Mountain of Inheritance to discuss with the elders about the Little Elf Guidebook. It seems that we need to develop a Little Elf Guidebook for our family's own use as soon as possible. While the content is more detailed, we also need to add a permission system and a bloodline recognition system to avoid data leakage. I see. By the way, Mom, I'm going on a trip soon. Can you help me prepare what I need? Don't worry, I've already prepared it for you and left it in your room. Sakura Nasha led Ryuno to his bedroom. This backpack is a large capacity space backpack specially made by the family. It looks small now, but it has a capacity of 2 cubic meters. I've put all the shoes, clothes, food, and Pokémon balls you need for your trip inside, and you can check them yourself later. Sakura Naisha handed her backpack to Ryuno and whispered to him, I know the Fujiwara family policy is that they cannot receive additional support from the family until they complete the trial mission. However, if you really need anything, you can tell Mom and I will secretly mail it to you. Mom, there's no one else right now. You don't need to say it so quietly. Oh, by the way, if you don't want your clothes washed, just call me and I will mail the new clothes to you. Why does this sound so familiar? By the way, Longye's mother on Earth also said the same thing when he was in college. She even told Longye that if he didn't want to wash his socks, he would buy a few new pairs to wear and gather them together for her to wash. If that's the case, can there still be people living in the dormitory? When I was in elementary school, my mom asked Ryuno to wash his socks by himself, but after Ryuno went to college, he was so worried about him. Is it because he wasn't by his parents? All right Mom, I'll take care of myself, Ryuno said, patting his chest. After finally seeing off his mother who kept reminding him, Ryuno quickly checked the items in his backpack. In addition to clothes, toothbrushes, and other items, Ryuno also found some medicine in his backpack, including both human and elf food. In addition, there were elf food and a lot of canned food, all of which were meals that could be eaten by heating. Sakurachi Sha also knew that Ryuno didn't like to eat instant noodles, so she prepared these things for him. However, Longye is not worried about the food issue during his travels. Although he doesn't have a companion like Xiaojiang who can make delicious food anytime and anywhere, Longye has a powerful system where anything he sees can be exchanged in the system mall. Nowadays, there are dozens of exquisite foods for Longye to exchange in the system mall. The most crucial thing is that the system has extremely low pricing for these foods, and only 1.2 points are needed to exchange them together. This situation may be due to the abundant material resources of people in the 31st century. However, regardless of the reason, such a price is a good thing for Longye, which means he can also enjoy hot and delicious meals while in the wilderness. After Fujiwara Masayoshi returned, he emphasized the trial task to Ryuno again, be sure to record all kinds of information well when traveling. After staying at home for a month, Longye returned to Zhenxin town, and this time his trip will officially begin. After arriving at the Daimu Research Institute in Zhenxin town, Ryuno saw the 2-year-old Koji and Komeo, and during this time, Ryuno became familiar with these two little guys. Big brother, are you going on a trip? I really envy you. Alright little ones, when you grow up, you will also start your own journey. Considering that we may not be able to meet for a long time, before we leave, I will give you both a gift. Long Yi said to the two little ones. Xiao Mao. What gift is it? Xiao Ji. Big brother, you are so kind. Seeing the eager appearance of the two people, Ryuno didn't bother anymore. He took out 2 Pokémon balls from his backpack and said, these are the gifts I gave you. Each Pokémon ball contains a Carp King, and you need to cultivate it well. Although the Carp King is very weak, they have evolved into a Tyrannosaurus Rex and become very powerful. I will definitely take good care of the Carp King. Me too. Being able to have their own little elf made the two of them extremely happy. They looked back and forth at the elf ball given by Longya, but didn't release the Carp King inside for a long time. These 2 Pokéballs have your respective names on them, so you don't have to worry about getting mixed up. I hope when I come back, I see that each of you has a healthy Carp King. The two little guys cheered and ran straight to the small river to release their Carp King. The reason why Longye gave each of Xiaoji and Xiaomao a Carp King was influenced by his father. However, Longye is not worried that this will change their future development. Perhaps cultivating a Carp King from a young age can help them go further. End of this chapter.